Hunter x Hunter stands out among even the best anime, not just because of the fights and the characters, but because its often extremely lengthy build-up tends to satisfy in very unexpected ways. For a series that is notorious for subverting expectations, one can only marvel at how well Yoshihiro Togashi often sticks the landing, and the Chimera Ant arc is the perfect example of this. First off, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. For first-time watchers, welcome to this new series on the channel called Anime Greatest Moments, where we discuss the most iconic, profound, and groundbreaking moments in anime history, and break down just why they're considered the greatest of all time. And as the title suggests, the video will be on Hunter x Hunter, particularly the palace invasion during the Chimera Ant arc. Furthermore, this video will be a two-parter. While the events of this video will cover the initial invasion, the second video dropping not too long after this one drops will cover Gon versus Pitou. Yes, this arc is so rich, dense, and brilliantly layered that it's going to require two videos because editing all of that into one would be a nightmare for me. And it gives me more time to go in depth about each individual topic because I truly believe they deserve their own coverage. Now, before we dive into this video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps me out as a new YouTuber. And comment down below what anime moments you would like to see covered on the channel next. I'm welcoming any and all suggestions. I've done one on Gohan vs. Cell if you're interested in that, and I may put a poll up on the channel asking you to vote for what anime moment gets covered next, so please keep an eye out for that as well. And with all that said, let's get into the video. There's a lot of moving parts to the palace invasion, so let's be grateful that it's happening in slow motion, at least from our perspective. Also, the choice of having a narrator here is a bold but effective choice. There's not a lot of speaking during this scene, and there's a lot of nonverbal communication and internal monologues. And because so much is happening here, it's easy to miss something or misinterpret something, so I think the narrator here helps bridge the divide, particularly when Gon charges to confront Yuppie. The palace invasion begins with a literal countdown. After episodes of build-up, planning, and training, we finally arrive at the moment where two major forces are about to collide. The protagonists are taking on the strongest opponents they've ever encountered, and the fate of humanity lies in the balance. Waiting in a separate space, they plan a coordinated attack on the Chimera Ants. Gon and Killua are entering the Lion's Den with the help from Moro, Knuckles, Shoot, Nov, and Melioram. And another attack is being planned by the chairman of the Hunter Association himself, Isaac Netero. The build-up here is incredible, and it works because we're privy to some of what's going to happen, but not all. And one of the major surprises here is that Netero has enlisted the help of Killua's grandfather, Zeno Zoldyck. And as if seeing the two of them on top of that dragon approaching the palace isn't incredible enough, and one of the coolest moments of the entire series, Zeno unleashes Dragon Dive, one of the most beautiful attacks in anime, and it gave us one of the greatest shots I've ever seen in anything ever. I get chills whenever I see the palace being bombarded with Zeno's, his storm of Nen dragons from Pitou's perspective. And I just love the voice acting when he says the name of the attack. Though sometimes I randomly say it in my head because it just sounds so cool. But yes, what an incredible scene. Even if that isn't the end of it, because the narrator is still going crazy as he explains to the audience just how Netero is about to humble Pitou in this scene. Seeing Netero just calmly floating there amidst the storm of Nen with a powerful royal guard member approaching to kill him really puts into perspective just how capable he is. And as Netero prepares his attack, time seems to slow down, and we cut away to Zeno. He briefly explains how time seems to slow down also when two powerful opponents face each other in battle, which can explain why all the rising action surrounding the clash of humans versus Chimera Ants feels so much longer than it actually is for the characters in the series and for us as the audience. The cutaway from the battle is extremely jarring, and that's intentional. For some reason, it's one of the most memorable scenes in Hunter x Hunter for me, and this moment does a number of things. It reveals more about Netero and Zeno, two extremely powerful Nen veterans, who we definitely need to learn more from in terms of how powerful they are and what Nen is capable of in the hands of a truly experienced master. And it also helps establish the nature of their relationship. As it turns out, Netero has a history with the Zoldyck family, even fighting Zeno's grandfather and managing to be the only one to do so and survive. That's an incredible lore drop there, and we learn that Netero is decades older than he appears to be, and has an incredible attack hidden up his sleeve, which he partially uses to launch Neferpitou far away. And it's the greatest feat against the Chimera Ant Royal Guard we've seen up until that point, and the line he says about Pitou is so cold, as if he's talking to a child. It really makes Netero seem like such a beast in total control of the situation. Meanwhile, on the inside, Zeno's Nen penetrates the palace and our heroes begin to notice. One of my favorite things about this scene is how quickly Gon adapts. Not only is he a step ahead of everyone else, he's several steps ahead. He understands that in the possibility that Knuckle and Meteoron are killed by Dragon Dive, someone would have to face Yuppie. He's the first to recognize this, over the genius Killua, over the far more experienced Moral and Shoot. It really goes to show that Gon's instincts are exceptionally honed, despite him being such a simple, young, and naive character. Gon is completely in the zone here, just as he was during the countdown. We've never seen Gon in a state of mind like this before, and it all feels like some very dark foreshadowing for what's going to happen. We're so scared for Gon that we actually think he might have a chance to take on Yuppie. We don't get the chance to find out, though, because Knuckle and Meteoron are alive and they deliver a triumphant blow against Yuppie. And thoroughly inspired by Gon's bravery and instincts, Shoot's mental state goes through a transformation as he vows to survive the attack and thank Gon after this is all over. Just seeing all the hunters ascend the staircase like this and infiltrate the palace is so hype. It's like watching pieces being placed on a chessboard, and some of our most important pieces are about to get in place. N is such an interesting technique in the Hunter x Hunter verse. Here, Pitou uses it to stretch entirely over the palace to assess the situation, and she sees Netero and Zeno approaching the king, Meruem. Everyone in the palace can feel the malice in her aura, and it visibly disturbs them. Meanwhile, Xiaopuf is rapidly approaching the palace himself, and I love the voice acting when he screams "Sire." Like it raises the tension even more to see the Chimera ants panic like this, and it highlights just how well executed the invasion is. And while Pitou is knocked out of the game for a few seconds, that was all the time their adversaries needed to reach the king. I really do admire Pitou's quick thinking here, though, and the versatile use of her abilities. Using Dr. Blythe to halt her momentum and then launching herself at the palace as soon as she landed was incredible. The devotion of the Chimera ants to Meruem remains so fascinating throughout this entire arc. The chaos of everything going on in this moment, from the Dragon Dive destroying the palace, to Gon and Killua's team coming face to face with Yuppie, to the Chimera ants trying desperately to reach Meruem. It's all beautifully juxtaposed by one of the quietest moments in the entire series, and ironically, is one of the loudest narratively. Everything this arc has set up thematically explodes right in our faces as we see Komugi, an innocent child, bleeding out in the arms of Meruem, a direct result from Zeno's Dragon Dive and our protagonist's operation as a whole. There are so many things happening in this moment and it's hard to process, but one thing is clear. This is no longer a battle of good versus evil or human versus ant, or even a battle of survival. This is about to be a clash of complex ideologies between two sides of equal merit. And just because we've been following our protagonists, the hunters, all this time, doesn't necessarily mean they aren't also the monsters in this story. The humanization of the Ant King Meruem is one of the most fascinating watches in all of anime. When he is introduced, we see him brutally kill multiple people, including a child and her parents. And after just a couple of days of encountering Komugi, he has developed a strong emotional attachment to her. Everything in between was beautifully set up, from his curiosity and eventual fascination of her abilities to his instinctual urge to protect her when she's being attacked. It all makes sense. And yet, similar to our protagonist, this was a variable we did not expect, until Togashi once again proves himself as the king of subverting expectations. Meruem urges Pitou to heal Komugi, expressing his complete trust in them, and Pitou instantly begins to cry. In this moment, Pitou is also humanized, much like Meruem, and in the episodes to follow, we see them beg for understanding, fear Gon's wrath towards Komugi, and apologize for the actions they take, something I'll discuss further when part 2 of this video drops. But one of the greatest indicators that this is no longer a battle of pure might is the fact that Meruem walks right between Netero and Zeno as if it were nothing. He had the opportunity to kill them both in this moment, and yet he didn't take it. And one could argue he was returning the favor for them showing respect and not attacking while he and Pitou tended to Komugi. But one could also argue that Meruem wanted to clash philosophies and reach a mutual understanding or agreement, signs that were non-existent in the cold, selfish, and uncompromising Meruem of before. And I find it very notable that Netero takes insult to this. and views it as the ants looking down on the humans and pushes for a battle anyway. It's yet another sign that this clash is so much more complex than anyone expected it to be. Because while Meruem may represent the peak of physical evolution, even that may pale in comparison to the evolution of his mindset and he himself as a character in this series. And neither the audience nor any of the protagonists that took part in this palace invasion were prepared for that. But that does it for part 1 of this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. It really helps me out as a new YouTuber. Leave your thoughts down below about the palace invasion and let me know what your favorite moment is. Also, let me know what other anime moments you would like to see covered on the channel next. Once again, thank you guys for watching and stay tuned because part 2 of this video will cover arguably the most iconic moment in all of Hunter x Hunter, Gon versus Pitou.